The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday in the Riv, and we had a little bit of snow. So everybody be careful on the roads.
So whoever ordered it, you're in trouble.
Watch your steps. Watch the roads. There's a little bit of ice still on them.
Yes, there is.
And it's not going to go above freezing for a little while.
But remarkably, ECM was out salting the roads.
Oh, well, you know, it's an election year.
You can tell.
You can tell.
Yeah, and we're not green today.
Yeah, we got the right lighting. Yeah. I had a few comments from people thought we were Martians.
Yeah.
And stuff. I said we looked a little green.
Yeah.
They thought we were sick, but that was the lighting. But we've got a lot of stuff to talk about as usual. But I think we'll start off with even though we don't have crime because of our illustrious mayor. There was a local Fall River daycare that was broken into for the second straight night, according to the owner. Mm-hmm. You know, these are the kind of things that are disturbing. And of course, we had the destruction and things on the ornaments on that
Down at Winter Wonderland.
Down at Winter Wonderland,
yeah.
which, you know, when you have things like this, it shows that there's a lack of adherence to the law. People don't care. They're kind of a little, you know, and it escalates. That's the problem. When it goes unaddressed, it escalates. They're like in New York. First they started just, let's ignore a little bit of it, and now they have actually organized gangs to loot. Right. So you can't have this stuff.
And, you know, the thing about the Winter Wonderland thing shows that when you stop losing your community pride, and it shows by the fact that you'll destroy something that everybody is wanting to use for the holiday season, to enjoy themselves, and it doesn't cost anything. I mean, even the hot cocoa, as far as I know, doesn't cost anything. So this tells you that there's definitely a small group of people who have nothing better to do. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe they need to find something better for them to do.
Well, yeah, like being incarcerated. But we'll touch upon a little old stuff just so we started talking about the fact that our educational system is a disaster, and we talked about we showed the bar graph on the last show, but there was part of this graph we couldn't get into because it was getting late. And this is for the 21-22 enrollments, and these are from the Department of Education, these stats. And I think some of the interesting things, and see, this is the problem. You know, we've got Mr. Rogers up on the 6th floor trying to say everything is wonderful, and we're not number one in crime, even though we all have crime, and that's from FBI statistics, which are from. And we got a beautiful building, and they just had all the political hacks up there talking about, oh, we're going to reline the pipes, and we're going to do this, and that doesn't educate kids. I hate to tell you this, people, and this is the problem. They keep saying people are going to come to Fall River. They're not going to come to Fall River if they've got children, because the pipes got relined, or whatever else they're going to do up there to the building, and that we built a new building. Because that doesn't educate their children. These people, supposedly, they're bringing down all the affluent people. These people are well educated. You look at Newton, 75% of their population has a bachelor's degree or more.
Right.
They're not coming to a city where we've got like 14%.
Unless you're Jake Auchincloss.
And that's only when he was looking for votes.
That's
and
right.
Looking for a little public exposure. He's not living down here.
That's right, he's not.
He's not living down here because it's like Fall River. I'm not going there, and that's what they think. They're selling this pie in the sky thing because they're all walking around like Mr. Rogers. They're singing it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, but it's only a beautiful day in their neighborhood because they live in a single-family neighborhood where the people have money. And it's kind of like they carved out a little tiny piece of Newton and shoved it down here.
Yep.
But this is the thing. 81.7% of the student population is considered low income. 82, it's more than half. 82% of the population. It's so high that they're going to let everybody eat for free.
That's right.
That's how high it is. But don't worry, Paul. There's no problem in this city. We do not need affordable housing because everybody can afford all the new rents. And if they don't like it, they can go live in the basement of the school. Didn't you say that? I don't know. Maybe he did.
No, he said go to New Bedford.
Go to New Bedford. Yeah, I'll go to somewhere else. And we have too much public housing, but public housing isn't affordable. He still doesn't grasp that. The other thing that's extremely disturbing to me, and I'm sure to you, which obviously you've got a PhD, so that's basically as high
Piled high and deep, yes.
as high as you can go, basically, in most fields. I think there are diplomats that are even
Yeah,
above.
I'm not going to be a diplomat.
A
thank you.
diplomat, yeah, because actually my son got a diplomat in X-ray. He went to Hofstra and took a summer course in that. So I didn't even know a diplomat existed until he went to that course. He told me he's going to get that course. I said, what the hell's a diplomat? And it's like, oh, yeah, it's a course that is above the PhD level. So I said, okay. But 86.9, so let's just say 87. 87%. Of the student population is classified as high needs. That is just mind-boggling.
That's more than it's poor.
Yeah, a lot more. Virtually, you might as well say 90% of the people are high needs. Why? What? It's because if you look at 3 through 8, English, we're in partially meeting expectations. How can you, when you get to high school, of course you're going to have high needs. It's like we talked about coming here. How many people need remedial courses when they get to college because they're not prepared for college?
That's right.
Well, they're not prepared for high school because grades 3 through 8 are underperforming. English, partially meeting. Well, just say not meeting, because, that's just another category to make it look a little better.
Yes, it does.
That's all it is. They're not meeting expectations in math and English. When you get to high school, it's hard to learn calculus if you never learned arithmetic.
That's right.
I mean, let's make that analogy.
Plus, have you seen the new arithmetic they're teaching these kids?
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
it confuses me.
yeah, it does. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they made everything hard.
Yeah.
But this is disturbing. And this is what disturbs me, that we have a mayor that ignores this. He tries to pretend that the building is going to improve education, that a train is going to fix Fall River, that, he walks around like Mr. Rogers. And he is a career educator. And what has he done in his entire career to improve our education? It is an unmitigated disaster. 30 years. Two terms on a school committee, I believe, and now he's the chairman, and he's the mayor. Does anybody on a school committee look at this and say, I think we've got some issues here? We're creating all these big jobs for deans of students and assistant superintendents of schools. We got all kinds of chiefs walking around, and the Indians aren't getting the job done. And here's another one. This is from a place called School Digger. And it's about their rankings. It says, private schools are not used in determining city rank. School Digger calculates, this is important, school rankings based on test scores released by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. So they're not making this stuff up, even though they'll be accused of,
Right.
we make everything up, okay? These rankings were last updated on September 29th, 2022.
No, not that recent, huh?
Yeah, not that recent.
Not that
right?
recent, no.
And the most recent test scores will, and we update rankings as we receive new test scores from the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Our sources of data include the National Centers for Education Statistics, U.S. Department of Education, and the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
Not one of those sources is reliable.
That's right. Not one of those sources is reliable. So, guess what? You know where Fall River ranked in that statistic? You know we have 351 cities
That's
and
right.
towns. And they have a couple of sub-districts in here. So there's a little bit. Here it is, Fall River, 335th. So they were lying to us when they said we couldn't crack the top 200. We can't crack the top 300. The top 300. This is abysmal. And the thing is, we went down 5 places since last year.
Amazing, isn't it?
I mean, 335th. That's 16 places from the bottom. We're 17th from the bottom. I mean, we have towns the size of peas that are doing a better job. We've got a gigantic school budget. And what are we doing with it? This, and you Mr. Rogers in the neighborhood, delusionary rose-colored glasses, pinheads, don't think there's a see, this is the problem. Fall River never goes anywhere because they're too busy giving out money not to help people pay their rent, not to educate our children, not to figure out how we're going to deal with crime, but, you know, for stuff that looks good for optics. Oh, let's give it to the boxing club. Let's give it to this. Let's not give, oh, you want to give money to people for, get that money out of affordable housing. What do we need? Well, we need to put children out that are prepared for life and college or a trade.
And remember, these students that are in the highest needs, okay, high need students,
Which is almost 90%.
which
80,
is almost 90%,
87.
correct, not, almost 90%. If their parents or parent, most likely it's a single family, single parent home, doesn't have the money to pay for rent, that kid's going to be living out of the back of a Chevy,
Exactly.
okay? And without affordable housing, that is just going to increase their needs for services, which means the money that could have went to affordable housing is going to have to go to providing additional services.
Yeah.
And there'll be no, you know, and odds are there'll be no return on the investment.
You know, you're right. And you know, these people, they live in their own world. It's like, you know, the rich live in the rich world. Nancy Pelosi doesn't care about people defecating and urinating all over the streets of San Francisco and crime being rampant and people shooting up on the streets. She's living in her enclave with her $15 a pint ice cream and her $5,000 ice cream freezer. She has a separate freezer just for her $15 ice cream. They live in a different world. It's like Paul. Oh, everything's fine here. What are you people are nuts? There's no real big need for affordable housing. There's no need to educate our children. There's no need to reduce the crime rate because everything's beautiful in my neighborhood. But that's not true. That's not true. They own the media. It's like on a national thing. They don't say anything about the problems. 2 out of 3 people in the United States are living paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
We're facing a winter where heating is going up astronomically, electricity is going to go up, and we have these low-income people already in the strap, and they're saying this inflation is going to last and go into a depression probably, for it's going to be a while. Now the feds are going to increase interest rates.
Again.
As you said, and these children that are our future, they want to get rid of them, but where are they going to go? Like you said, they'll be living in the back of a Chevy if they got a Chevy.
That's right.
Because the fact is that these children have high needs for various reasons. One of them is probably that a lot of their parents are not well educated, so they can't come home and learn, get help from their parents. That unfortunately is the onus of the educational system. Now, when they come to college, the college tests them and says, well, if you want to come here, you got to take these remedial courses.
That's right.
Why isn't our secondary education and elementary education testing these children? They want to get rid of the tests. They don't want to know. They want to be like Baltimore, graduating people from high school that read on a second grade level and a third grade level and are functional illiterates. That's the way to destroy a society. And that's what they're doing. They're pretending these things don't exist, but they do. They do. And their answer? Cancel the tests. Why should we actually know that these children are not being educated? We want to collect our paycheck and say, go out, go forth, young man with a second grade educational level, and you're graduating from high school. And you know what their answer is? Breaking news. We are informed that Paul Coogan wishes to remove written citizens' input from the school committee rules. The motion will be introduced this Monday. There you go. Mr. Rogers, who pretends to be, don't you want to go to heaven? I'm a great guy. Everybody loves Paul. He was the most popular guy at Durfee, high-fiving everybody.
Well,
He wants to suppress the right of the people. Let me get this out, then you can go.
Yep.
Because this infuriates me all the time because of the con he's running. Mr. Nice Guy, you know, it's all whole hands and kumbaya. Don't you want to go to heaven? But then if you disagree with them, which is the fundamental way that a society progresses, we need debate. We understand what Hegel said in the Hegelian theory of history. Mm-hmm. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. You need opposing opinions. When they created this country, the Continental Congress, they were nearly fist fights, screaming, yelling,
we need that
people
back.
Walking out. It was horrible there, but they got
things done.
They finally got to it. They got that synthesis. They agreed, and we got a nation. This guy wants to eliminate anybody because what he does is he doesn't say, like, look, we've had plenty of people that disagree with us, and we'll argue our point. We don't say, you're negative. You should jump in a Taunton River. Shut up. You're not entitled to speak because you live in public housing. Go buy a house. You don't have to. You can't have an opinion if you don't own a house. If you can't afford your house, you don't have a right to speak in Fall River. Go to somewhere else. Move out. Move to Russia. Move out of town. We don't care. You see, what he's doing is what dictators do, tyrants do. Nice guy, Mr. Rogers, Paul Coogan, doesn't support his positions with debate and say, okay, I challenge your position. I will go there and say, and prove you're wrong. I will prove we don't need a lot of affordable housing. He says, no, these people are negative. These people are saws, self-appointed watchdogs.
Yep.
He has all these little labels. And remember the last people who used labels? Wasn't it Hitler labeling Jews? Mm-hmm. Having caricatures of a big-nosed Jewish individual?
Yes.
Don't the Chinese label and categorize everybody? The Uyghurs, you know, the non-Chinese. You think this guy is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Pay attention. If he was as good and cared, he would not be calling people names. He would be saying, I disagree with you. We have people that disagree all the time. We have people who are adamantly opposed to abortion, and we have people who are in pro-life. And that is a very contentious subject. And they both have their cases, they present their cases. But the side that then determines that those people are Nazis and begins to label them, it shows that they feel their position is weak. It can't be pleaded on its merit. Paul does not want to hear anybody that disagrees with him, and here's another case of him now eliminating written input. And I don't care what kind of BS story he comes out with on why he thinks we should do this. And like I said, he can have his opinion. If he wants to come and sit between us again, we'll debate it again. My feeling is our Constitution said that they are answerable to us. And they mean they're really answerable, like why they're not educating our children. But I believe that we should have unlimited citizens' input.
I agree.
Because we are the citizens and we are the government. He believes differently, come down and debate it.
Yep.
I don't believe it's true.
Now,
I believe that we should not be shackled by the people who are supposed to represent us. And now you can take it
Now,
over.
here's one of the things I think Paul needs to look into before he decides to look like a fool.
That's never stopped him before. Okay.
A few years ago, a citizen filed an MCAD complaint, the Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination, against the city of Fall River because they would not allow citizens' input in writing. Then Corporate Counsel Macy, Assistant Corporate Counsel Gary Howiak, and there was someone else, went to Boston to argue their position. And the citizen went and argued their position. The citizen won.
Of course, because the Constitution
The
was on his
city
side.
agreed, before they went to a point of having a decision rendered, the city entered into an agreement to allow citizens' input in writing. They did. And if Paul wants to check that out, he should go to Corporate Counsel's office and see. Because if that is violated, I'll be more than happy to bring that back before MCAD. Yes, I was the citizen.
Why am I not surprised? So I
Right.
know, I knew that. But
And the thing is that the school committee has notoriously tried to limit citizens' input. They turned around and they said citizens' input could only be about things that are on the agenda. Was restricted people from talking.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't allow parents to talk about their schools. Didn't allow parents to talk about how their children were being educated because it's not on the agenda. You can't talk about it.
Yeah, well, that's the Nazi method.
That's right.
You don't get to speak on any opposing opinion. There can be no debate, no opposition opinion, because then you are branded. Now, as I said, but look, and I'm going to go. We always call them like we see them, and we've said numerous times on this show, this is the people's fault.
Yep.
We have a school committee that is sitting there now and been in office nearly a year that has never mentioned the fact that they were 335th in the state.
Right.
That we have all these issues of non-performing schools at every level. That's not an issue. You know what their issue is? Another superintendent of schools, assistant superintendent of schools, another job. Split the jobs. Give the guy that's got the part-time job working a side job while he's at work, give him a supervisory position and chop a department in half and give out more pay raises. This is what they do. Our school committee is not addressing the issue. The major issue is education. This is an educational system. They're not educating. And what they do is they shut off any attempt to bring it to the light of day. This is what happened with Hunter Biden laptop. Russian disinformation. Shut up. Nobody can talk about that. You are being you're an election denier. You're this, you're that. This is a political tactic to suppress debate and hide reality from the general public. And this is what they do. They do not want the people to speak, in spite of the fact that every single one of those pinheads stuck their right hand up and swore an oath to uphold the Constitution of this Commonwealth and the Constitution of the United States, which clearly states that the people are the government and they are their agents and representatives at all times answerable to those people. And they're saying once they get in, to the people.
That's right.
And you put them there. So let's see some new people run for the city council and for the school committee.
Definitely.
And for mayor, and get their butts out. Because this city is just, it's not performing on direct services to the people. The crime rate, the education rate, it's not there.
Taxes,
I want
fees.
somebody from the school committee to come in here and sit down and tell us what their plan is to, and how it got to 335. How long have we been underperforming? I haven't remembered a year that we said, oh, we're really performing well.
Nope.
They used to throw the hats up in the air and have a party when we got a school
Bob Nagel.
off probation. Yeah, I know, Nagel, and
Bob
that was
Nagel.
like, what, the 70s? The 80s?
Bob Nagel.
Yeah, Bob Nagel. Yeah, like the 70s and the 80s, and that's when Nagel was in.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it's gotten to the point, it's gone from the ridiculous to the sublime. Because when we celebrate and pretend we've achieved something when we get a school taken off academic probation, we've really hit the bottom.
Yeah,
I'm
true.
sorry.
But back when Bob Nagel was the superintendent, the schools were all performing. And they didn't have as much money. And they didn't have as many superintendents. And they didn't have many counselors. Okay?
And they sure as hell didn't have deans of
And they
students.
had, right, and they didn't have deans of students, and they had neighborhood schools, and they performed very well. And we had students that were in advanced classes in 4th and 5th grade, because that was a program they had, and it was showing, and that's why those students graduated. I mean, when we got out of elementary school, we could do our multiplication tables. Today, these kids don't even know what a multiplication table is.
Well, look, and I know what their spin is going to try to be, oh, this is a really complex problem. But no matter how complex a problem is, you solve it by breaking it down into pieces, into very simple pieces.
Right.
Nobody is denying this isn't a complex problem, because then you have family environments and things. But bottom line is, it's your job to educate these children. And I do not see this anywhere for years as the primary focus of our educational system, because you never hear about it.
Right.
You never hear about the underperformance. They do not want to hear it. They do not want to hear about the fights that take place into Durfee virtually every day. And we have videos of these fights.
That's right.
They don't want to hear about the attempted rapes that go on, that have happened. They don't want to hear about anything. So stick your head in the sand, pretend it doesn't happen, and just keep giving everybody jobs and pay raises like this system is performing. I think people would have less problem giving people money if they actually did their job. That would be like saying, well, the fire department has decided not to just leave the station at a fire. They'll just like, okay, we got the call, and we'll go down in 4 or 5 hours and check it out, see how it is, and pay them. And give them pay raises and make it a larger department without doing their job. Same thing with the police. The police are out there every day. But are they getting any assistance? Because we've made it a priority we've tried to involve the community? No. Bottom line is this city is disintegrating before our eyes. And remember, don't worry about it. Mr. Rogers wants to elevate us.
Yeah, I know. I mean, if you read his quote in the Herald News this week, I thought that was, on Friday, I thought that was very interesting. Because we got $14 million, $10 million to remove lead from the pipes, which is great. We need to get the lead out of our water system.
Yep.
But we got on the agenda for tomorrow a $3 million bond to remove lead from the water system.
Yep.
Do we need that now? We've got $10 million. Do we need a $3 million bond? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's going to be an interesting question.
Look, we need our lead removed, but that's part of direct
But they got
services.
$4 million to buy 11 new electric buses, school buses. We don't have school buses in the city of Fall River, meaning in the school department.
Yeah.
We contract out. So where's that $4 million going to go?
Look,
I asked Elizabeth Warren's office, and I still haven't gotten a call back. So this tells you nobody wants to address
electric
the issue.
buses don't educate children. Lead pipes have to be fixed because it's what the public, it's a public
It's
safety
dangerous.
issue.
Yep.
And you know something? We still need less crime and better education.
That's right. Well, I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We will see you on Wednesday.